Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com, joined by Justin Rogers. With the game against the Rams on tap, obviously they have Aaron Donald, Lions have Eric Ebron. I've heard of both those guys. The 2014 draft has come into focus this week a little bit, and the Lions' decision to take Ebron over Donald, over Taylor Lewan, over some guy named Odell Beckham. For better or worse, that's been a talking point throughout the week. What's your big take, Justin, on the Lions landing Ebron instead of Aaron Donald?
They like to say hindsight is 20/20, but I really think most of us, talking to you, the audience as well, had some foresight on this one. I had projected Aaron Donald to the Lions in my mock draft, and not that means much, but the logic that I used was you didn't know where Sue's contract was going. Fairley was also a free agent. C.J. Mosley was also a free agent. The defensive line was the identity of this team. And anybody that watched Aaron Donald in college, regardless of his physical stature, knew he was going to be a good player. He's exceeded those expectations, but I don't think there's any surprise that he's been as good as he's been.
It was a position of need for the Lions, and I don't think at that high in the draft, you don't typically draft for a position of need unless maybe you need a quarterback or something. Sure. But we knew he was good, and there's a reason when he went 13th overall. There's 3 picks after the Lions took him, and the thing with me is, like, even if they thought Donald wasn't that great, which according to Terrell Austin this week, Terrell Austin said he was pitching for him, so obviously the Lions thought highly of him. But there was Beckham, there's Lewan, there was a number of Zach Martin's been a great player for the Cowboys. So any number of players who would have been productive instantly for the Lions are pretty close to it, and they end up with Ebron, who I still think can pan out. But I talked to him a little bit today, and he was pretty honest with I understand, like. I went up to him and I actually asked him, like, I know you probably get sick of the Aaron Donald questions. He's like, no, it's not. I understand it, and that's just a comparison that's going to be made because of the placements in the draft. But Ebron's just trying to be the best player he can be. And
sure.
That's the right attitude, I think, because he can still be a good player, even if it's not to a level where it would warrant a 10th overall pick on a tight end.
Yeah, the Ebron pick made sense, but then it didn't make sense at the same time. They had just inked Brandon Pettigrew to a long-term extension shortly before that draft. And listen, there are teams that have made dual tight ends work. I think there's one that's won a Super Bowl a few times in New England before. Aaron Hernandez's unfortunate situation. That's polite way of putting it, I guess. But I thought that the comp there, Ebron to Hernandez, was an appropriate one. Just the athleticism they presented at the position, and we've seen flashes of it. I mean, for sure. But this is a time where I would expect Ebron's career to really be starting to take off, and he's kind of hit a bump in the road that I guess we didn't expect. Some of the drop issues have kind of hurt his position on the depth chart, some of the snaps, some of the looks he's supposed to be getting. And it's 2 years in, and you're always going to be judged by the players taken around you, and it looks like a mistake, no matter, I guess, how good Ebron actually ends up.
Ebron was cool when I asked him about Aaron Donald. He was less cool when I asked him about the drops. He did not like that at all. He tapped Brandon Pettigrew on the back and just did the motion of, like, can you believe this guy? But no, the drops have been an issue a little bit, and he said he's just trying to refocus, and I think aside from the drops, he has improved quite a bit. The issue last year was mental, not physical, I thought, and this year's been more. Last year was more physical than it was more mental than physical last year. This year he knows the schemes, he knows what he's supposed to be doing, he knows the role, but it's more physical. It's the drop. I'm not sure if it's concentration or hands or what, but he says he's working on his concentration. Maybe he can figure out if you can figure out the drops. Like, he looks good when he's out there, right? Like, he's already eclipsed what he did last year, and that's with missing some time with injury and a diminished role the past couple of weeks because of the drops. And I asked Jim Bob Cooter about that this week as well, and Jim Bob had said that all factors go into it, which is a polite way of saying, it was the drops. So I think if he can get that corrected, Ebron can still be a contributor for the Lions, even if he's not putting up 1,000-yard seasons with one-handed catches like Odell or somebody like that.
Yeah, I don't even think it's irrational to draft a tight end at number 10, but that tight end has to be the ultimate complete player or so head and shoulders above as a receiver. I mean, you're talking either about a Rob Gronkowski type that is dominant in all aspects of the game, and right now Ebron is a one-dimensional player. He's not a good run blocker. He's not a good pass blocker. effort's there. It's not within his physical skill set to do it consistently. And then the other end of the spectrum is the Jimmy Graham, not necessarily the new Seattle version, but the New Orleans version. And I think that's what the management, the front office here expected Ebron to develop into. And again, it's early, but we're not seeing the prototypical jump first year to second year that we've seen with so many other elite tight ends. The development's been slower, and again, I mean, it's so much harder to swallow that when so many of the guys around him, both selected just before him and just after him, have had really stellar starts to their career.
Right, and Terrell Austin had told us that, again, he had lobbied for Aaron Donald. He liked him a lot. Didn't see any red flags from him or whatever. I think if either Anthony Barr or Justin Gilbert were there, I think the Lions would have taken either one of those guys before Donald. But
I don't know if Gilbert would have been much better.
Yeah, no, but I just from what I've heard that they really liked Gilbert, and they needed a corner at the time. But so how did the Lions end up with Ebron? Well, they had him exceptionally high on the draft board, but they said was that he was their second highest player on their offensive player on their big board, behind just Sammy Watkins. So that's extraordinarily high for a tight end, obviously. And when he fell to them, that I've heard that Lombardi pitched, made an argument for him, and Martin Mayhew. I'm not sure if it was that voice or his scouting staff or just his own gut instinct, but he went with Ebron, and that has proven to be the wrong choice over Donald or any number of other guys. But Donald certainly would have helped his team.
Yeah, I don't pin this on Lombardi. I think similar voice that Austin. They liked a guy, they put their voice in.
Yeah, my point was just that Terrell had put his voice out there, and it was overruled by Mayhew. Mayhew was pressing the big button, and then he pulled the trigger on Ebron, and that's proven to be the wrong pick.
Absolutely, and I know I've talked to at least one person at front office that liked Odell Beckham significantly more than the rest of the guys. The Lions didn't have him quite as high on their board. A lot of teams missed on Odell Beckham. I think I bet he was not as high on the board as the skill set of. He's arguably top 5, top 3 wide receiver going forward in this league.
And he went where? 15?
No, it was in the top 13 picks. I don't know exact number, but
I can't remember.
Within 3 of Ebron. And just talking to Calvin about some of the catches, I think everybody appreciates how he performs like a superhuman out there every Sunday. He's going to be great for years and years to come, and I guess all Lions fans can hope is that at some point Ebron turns that corner and becomes that 70, 80 catch a year tight end, 7 to 10 touchdowns, and really becomes a key part of this offense.
Well, he's made he by his own admission, he came in immature and ill-prepared last year. He fixed a lot of his mental issues coming into this year. He is a more mature player, even if he still likes to talk a little bit and stuff, but he's a more mature player. He does know what he's doing now. I think if the hands come around, he can put it together. And I still think he can be a good player for this team, even if it doesn't ever warrant the place in the draft that he was picked. And that's, I think, Eric Ebron's fate in Detroit. I don't think he'll ever outlive that, because guys like Aaron Donald, every time you play, next time the Lions play the Giants, it's going to be Ebron versus Odell, and that's just something he's going to have to live with.
With Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and Theo Riddick, who's emerged and really taken some of those targets that we anticipated going to Ebron. And I don't know if he's ever going to get enough targets over the course of a season to put up big numbers. Those might not come until Calvin is no longer on the roster, and I don't think that'll be next year. Maybe 2017.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Lions Rams on Sunday. We'll be here for a couple more days before that game. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Minke. We are M Live. Keep it right here.